Am I the a-hole for not letting my boyfriend's younger siblings move in with us? Plus update. My boyfriend Eric, 26 male, and I, 25 female, recently moved in together. And by moved in together, I mean he moved into the home that I own outright, which I inherited from my grandmother. We live in a high cost of living area, and Eric's lease was up, and he was struggling to find a place he could afford. He asked to move in with me, and I hesitantly agreed. We've been dating for just under a year, and I feel like it was a little too soon. But since I can see a future with Eric, I agreed. Eric's family situation is a bit of a mess. His dad is in prison and his mother is an addict. Eric has 3 younger half-siblings, 12 male, 8 female, and 6 male. This week, they were removed from the home because his mom's boyfriend was violating the girl. The kids are sleeping on his aunt's floor right now because there's a shortage of foster homes in the area. And she can't keep them because she lives in a 2-bedroom apartment with her 2 kids. So from how it was described, the kids are going to be split up and sent to different foster homes/group homes. Eric's mother denies her boyfriend's actions and won't leave him because he pays the rent and buys her drugs basically. Eric wants me to agree to let the kids move in with us, and we raise them basically. I've known him for less than a year, and I've never met these kids. I feel bad for their situation, but I don't want to be responsible for someone else's kids. Even having them in my home would be a huge burden. Not to mention Eric doesn't make much money and can't afford to support them. I would have to support them. The government will only offer financial support for caring for them if he becomes a licensed foster parent, which is a lengthy process that he doesn't have time for. We've been fighting about this for the past 2 days, and I think our relationship is over either way. He thinks I'm a monster for letting his siblings go into foster care, but I think that what he's asking of me is way too much for someone you've been with less than a year. I absolutely do not want these kids in my home. I'm not willing to compromise on it. I know it wouldn't work out, and I don't want to have to evict him and his 3 siblings. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. You're the a-hole. You should and can do something, but your ego is too big for empathy and compassion. What a total heartless crap show this comment section has become. At the least you could do is help your boyfriend find a place to move so he can take his siblings. Grow a heart and develop a conscience before it's too late. Adversely, if this was a post about puppies or kittens, everyone would be all about helping them. Unreal. How would you suggest I help him find a place? I helped his apartment search when he was looking for a studio, and there were very few available on his budget. How should I find a 3-bed for the price of one of the cheapest studios? Not a-hole, but I can see why you are so conflicted. Merely the fact that you have enough space isn't the appropriate deciding factor here. You and Eric don't have nearly the right foundation to take on 3 kids. That will most definitely need extra attention. You weren't even 100 about letting Eric move in to begin with. I am so sorry for those kids, but I have to agree with you that you can't and shouldn't be asked to take this on. Eric is welcome to have his feelings about your refusal, and this may end your relationship. But better to lose a man you've been with for a year than take on 3 children you will be responsible for that are not your responsibility. This, definitely not the a-hole. Already hesitant about letting the boyfriend move in, neither of them are yet equipped to raise young ones. There are a lot of ways to support them besides having them move in. The way this situation is going, it sounds like you will soon have a temporary roommate and no longer have a boyfriend. Don't do it. You are right to be hesitant to let him move in. He should get a better paying job, or get 2 jobs and get his own place. Once he gets his own place, he can apply to be the foster parent. There are lots of big brothers/sisters raising their siblings who are struggling, but they make it work. On a side note, addicted mother will be over to visit and asked to spend a night/a few weeks/a few months. No a-holes here, but I think it really depends on if you are all in for him or not. If you are all in and this is the person you want to marry, I would personally do it. On the stipulation that he becomes licensed, so y'all can get the foster parent money. But it sounds like you are not all in, so it's probably a good idea to end things now. For what it's worth, I hope he's able to get those kids. A kinship placement with someone who loves you really cannot be replicated in foster care. He's a great guy, I just don't think he's worth it. There's plenty of guys out there who have similar qualities, but won't expect me to support and raise 3 children I've never met. I wish the best for them all, but their future was never going to be with me. Not a-hole. My heart goes out to those kids. I totally understand him not wanting the kids to go into foster care, but this isn't your situation to clean up. Asking you to basically change your life to emotionally and financially support 3 kids that you don't know is a lot. His best bet is to work with your social worker and make time to start the guardianship process. I feel bad for him, but if he doesn't live with me, he won't be able to take them. They're just staying with the aunt for a few days, but for a family member to take actual custody of them, the social workers want them to have at least 2 open bedrooms, one for the boys and one for the girl. Eric can barely afford a studio, so I know he has no chance of being able to afford a 3-bedroom place in the area, which is why I feel really bad for the kids. They think their brother is going to come get them. Mini update. Okay guys, things didn't go as planned. The general consensus was that I'm not in the wrong, and I do agree. I showed him this post, and he flipped out on me. He packed his bags and is staying in a hotel room. We've broken up, basically. I feel terrible for his situation, and that of his siblings. I think people in the comments have pegged him for some kind of broke mooch, but is actually incredibly hardworking and kind. I don't envy his position, and he lashed out because he's stressed and upset. He gave me back my key and he won't be coming back. And that's the end of it, I guess. I'm sure a lot of you will be happy to hear that. I'm sad, but it's probably what's best for us. Next story. Am I the a-hole for evicting sister for stealing my kids' savings? My sister, who is 37, has been staying with me for a little over a month now. She got evicted from the extended stay where she had been staying for a year now. My wife and I decided she could stay with us while she looked for shelter or housing options. She only works 30 hours a week at a low-paying job and doesn't have any money. She was supposed to be looking diligently, but was barely putting in any effort. So my patience was already wearing a little thin before this incident. I don't want her to be homeless, but I want her to show some effort. Last night, my wife noticed her change jar was almost empty. She asked my son and I if we had taken any change. We both hadn't. My son is 9 but would just ask for money. So it was pretty obvious it was my sister. She denied it, and I kind of just stewed on it. I'm not the best at communicating my feelings sometimes. My wife calls me today upset about the findings last night. She asks me to check my son's piggy bank because she's afraid it's been pillaged as well. He's had it since he was 2, and there was probably $300 or so in it. I get home and check it, and it's empty besides a few pennies. I saw freaking red. I can't believe it. I'm shaking so mad. My wife and I converse about what we're going to do, and then call her into the living room and confront her. There's just no holding back my rage. I screamed at her. How dare she steal from my son while she's staying under my roof? I honestly don't remember the last time I've been this upset. I asked my wife to go get her a few nights at a hotel, but she's gotta go. I just can't have her here. Am I the a-hole for kicking her out knowing she'll be homeless in a few days? We fed her, drove her, and just were very supportive of her while she was here. Part of me feels super guilty. I know screaming is not an effective way to communicate, and maybe I shouldn't have made such a quick decision. This happened to me. The child seeing that you stood up for them will mean everything to them. I got my very first job and had my mom come to my room to watch me put my first paycheck in my piggy bank because I was so proud. Later that night, I told my mom I wanted to take her to dinner and pay for it to celebrate. I can't even describe how upset I was to find that my piggy bank was empty. I even grabbed a flashlight thinking it got lodged somewhere in the bank. Nope, my stepfather had stolen the money for weed, and my mom confronted him at his friend's house where he was buying the stuff and got the money back. For real, my sister stole probably close to $2,000 from me when we both lived at home, and my dad would always say I must have lost it, or that I spent it and forgot. You know how you do when you come home at midnight from babysitting, but when you wake up all that's left is $5? You must have been wrong about how much you had. Anyway, I don't talk to my dad. My mother used to encourage my older sister to take my pay when I was 15 years old, washing dishes in a restaurant to pay for my own toiletries and clothes because my mother certainly wasn't going to buy me anything. It's horrible having bullies as your only family. Thieves steal and will steal again. I 1000% concur with the poster below. Put a credit hold on all your accounts, change your credit and debit card numbers, change all your passwords as well on the computer. Heck, even change your Netflix and other accounts. If she would steal from a 9-year-old, she will steal from you and your wife without any hesitation. Once she's gone, change all the locks on your house. We want to love family and give them the benefit of the doubt, but she's proven she isn't to be trusted. Protect your wife and son, your family. You did not overreact in my opinion, and it wasn't a quick decision. It was a firm and resolute decision based on your morals and your determination to protect your family. Your sister has shown she has no respect for you or your family and zero gratitude for what you try to do for her, which means she'll take more from you and harm you again if given the opportunity, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Very concerned she is using substances or has another vice. People don't steal like this when they aren't desperate. Money for a bus doesn't require stealing. I mean, she's working 30 hours a week without paying anything at their house. Let's assume that she's earning the absolute bare minimum I've seen any job these days, $10. That's still about $1,000 after taxes per month. She isn't paying a car or car insurance since they said they were driving her around. So she likely only has a phone bill. So where is the other $920-ish going every month? She likely has an addiction to some drug that the family isn't aware of or actively ignoring because they don't want to admit it. Without solving the underlying drug issue, she will never be able to obtain permanent housing or keep up with rent payments if she does. Kick her butt out. She doesn't need your help anymore. She needs rehab, and if she won't go to rehab, her own choices will determine her life, and she has no one else to blame. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my wealthier sister the lion's share of the inheritance? Yesterday, my parents had me 31 male, my 2 brothers 32 and 34, and my sister 41 down to discuss their will. My parents informed us that they want to split it 5 ways. My sister gets 2/5, while the 3 of us brothers get 1/5 each. Their reasoning is that my sister sacrificed her childhood for our family, so it's only fair she gets compensated. In our childhood, my father's business partners screwed him over, so there was a period where we were broke and in debt. My parents had to work multiple jobs to keep us afloat, and my sister babysat us while our parents worked. All she had to do was feed us and keep an eye on us. We were pretty calm kids, so all we did was play games and do our homework. It probably wasn't thrilling, but not exactly a tremendous hardship. I complained to my parents, along with my brothers, that it's insane they want to give my sister 2/5 of the inheritance over that, especially since she's financially the best off out of all of us. She doesn't have any kids, and a dual income with her partner. My parents said they're disappointed in us, and said we need to reflect on ourselves. My sister didn't say anything while my parents spoke, but texted us afterwards that she had zero intention of taking 2/5, but we were a-holes. Am I the a-hole for feeling like this split is unfair? Info. Are you and your brothers struggling financially, or just not as comfortable as your sister? You've talked about her advantages, basically being a dink. Do you and your brothers have financial disadvantages that are preventing you from being more successful? My brothers and I all have children that eat up a lot of our income. My wife and I both work, but the general costs of living means we're just staying afloat. My sister also benefited from having hardship/academic scholarships, so had minimal student debt. We didn't have the same access to scholarships, as our parents' income had improved by the time we went to college. How much did your parents help you and your brothers with college? I'm assuming they didn't have the means to help your sister. As the 3 of us were in college roughly the same time, our parents could only afford to pay for day-to-day costs like rent, but couldn't help pay for our degrees. Did they do the same for your sister? If not, then that's even more reason why their decision makes sense. The fact that she qualified for hardship/academic scholarships is irrelevant. How isn't it relevant? She saved way more money than us through those scholarships. She was able to go to a more prestigious college than us for pennies because of those scholarships and gave her a huge leg up in her work. We couldn't even consider going to out-of-state colleges because of loans. Yordi Aol, even if she just stayed at home while you were there, she didn't have teenage freedom, and she made sacrifices and took on responsibilities. It doesn't matter how affluent she is now. Your parents are trying to pay her back for what they couldn't pay her then. Yordi Aol, your failure to make as much as her isn't your parents' problem. Plus, those years could be a major factor why she chose not to have kids or doesn't have kids yet. She already raised her siblings. Yordi Aol. Yordi Aol, not many parents are willing to acknowledge that they parentified a child. Your sister sacrificed her teenage years to help your parents take care of you. There may not have been any inheritance at all for you to quibble over, if not for her unpaid labor back then. To put a finer point on it, the sister didn't sacrifice her childhood. The parents stole her childhood. A child did not volunteer to watch her 3 brothers. How many years was the sister babysitting to make the parents feel guilty enough to leave her a whole extra share? How old was she when it started? And OP, don't for a minute downplay what your sister did. That alone makes you an ungrateful a-hole. I don't condone or excuse the parentification, but it was because of your sister that you had food on the table and your parents were able to get back on their feet. You want to reap the benefits of your parents' hard work and success without thought to how they got there. Maybe she would have also liked playing games too instead of watching you. Maybe she would have liked going out with her friends and spending time with them instead of 3 little brothers. Maybe she had enough of watching children for a lifetime and that's why she's child-free. Your entitled attitude is pretty gross. Am I the a-hole for getting upset my boyfriend wouldn't take me to the ER? My boyfriend, male 20 and I, female 21, live together at my parents'. I've been having some pretty bad UTI symptoms. I went to a walk-in clinic 2 weeks ago when I had clear signs of infection, and they sent me home and said I tested negative. I woke up a week later with extreme hip pain. I spent all day on a heating pad and crying. 2 more days passed and then I woke up with the worst abdominal pain I've ever had. I began screaming and called my mom. She says to wake up my boyfriend and tell him to take me to the nearby hospital, 7 minutes, that is small, or one that's 35 minutes away that would properly handle what was going on. I wake him up and he says to just sleep it off. At this point I'm in tears. He says no and alludes that I'm overreacting, which I've been known to do, and it's probably nothing because I tested negative. I feel as if I've been stabbed, and this is not the type of pain I can wait out. I even compare how I'm feeling to a possible bladder rupture because of how awful I felt. Finally, he agrees to take me, but only if I let him sleep for 2 more hours. I understand that if it was some ungodly time, but it was currently 11:30 a.m. and I went to bed at 3 a.m. after playing video games. I explained that I can't wait that long and have no one else home to drive me. He turns over and lays back down. An hour goes by of the worst pain of my life, and I decided I will just try to suck it up and drive myself to the nearby ER. I woke him up one more time, and I explained that I cannot wait any longer and need to go now because something is wrong. He snaps and says give him 1 more hour, then lays back down. I storm off in my car and make it about 2 blocks before I realize I forgot my wallet, and I was in no state to drive as I was literally in so much pain I couldn't focus. I come home and lay down in bed beside him as I scream out in pain. He says that I know it takes time for him to wake up, and I have no right to get mad. I barely utter out please take me to the one 7 minutes away because I'm scared. I remind him that I've driven 2 hours at 3 a.m. and no sleep just to pick him up from the hospital, and spent the whole summer helping him recover from his injury including bathing and wiping him because he needed me. He argues some more, then finally at 2:30 p.m. takes me to the hospital 7 minutes away. It turns out that I had an advanced UTI and infection in my bladder and kidneys, as well as a kidney stone that was infected. I felt bad as I recalled my attitude that morning, but I was in a lot of pain. I do recall saying things like, fine, just don't help then, and you're being a prick, in rebuttal to his attitude. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Past the kidney stone, past the boyfriend. Not the a-hole. You need rid of all these. Screaming and crying in pain? A person that can ignore that is not the one for you. I take it cab etc. weren't an option. You can't rely on this guy, so you need to have alternatives. Nope. Super small town, so no Uber, etc. He really was my only option at the time to get the care I needed, and he knew that. Babe, dump him to the curb, and I don't say that often. He is not a keeper. You will have to drive to give birth alone, raise kids alone. My hubby had those kinds of pains and it was his appendix. If I had waited, it would have ruptured. Just run for your life. Quite literally. Because if they had kid, Opie must also raise the adult child too. Also, someone who's refusing to help you to go to ER is something you must stay away from. You were in pain and asked to go to the hospital. Why your partner didn't hop up like there was a fire under him is concerning. Sounds like you need a new boyfriend. One that actually cares about your well-being. Yep, this. First, not day home. Then, red flags. This boy has shown you who he is, and how he doesn't value you or your health. Kick that dude to the curb. You not only can do better, you must do better. First of all, I hope this is a troll, because can such a bad boyfriend exist? Dump the whole man. At least that's what I would do. What kind of person could ignore their partner who isn't this much pain? Also, you said you are known to overreact. Is this something you've actually noticed about yourself? Have people in your life told you that you tend to do that? Or was it just your boyfriend? Mostly boyfriend. After posting this, it's kinda starting to make sense why he keeps cheating and I can't get him to stop. Because it's starting to become clear he doesn't care. He's cheating too? If you stay in this relationship, you're the a-hole to yourself. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for exposing and embarrassing my brother's girlfriend? So I'll keep this as brief as I can. My brother started dating this lady, Jessica, in January. The three of us live in the same city, about 3 hours from me and my brother's parents/extended family. So until recently, I was the only member of his family Jessica had met. One of my brother's favorite things to eat is this sweet potato and red pepper soup I make. The relevant info here is that the soup features onions as an ingredient. Not enough that you'd eat it and go, oh wow, this sure tastes like onions. But enough that if you skipped them, it wouldn't taste right. I make this soup for him approximately once a week, and Jessica has come to love it as much as he does, without ever mentioning any issues after eating it. So the issue. My brother, Jessica, and I traveled to Brother Dai's hometown for our grandmother's 90th birthday celebration this week. Our mom was catering it, specifically with traditional Indian foods, since that's where she and our grandmother are from. However, when we arrived and I offered to help mom with the prep work, I noticed she was making several additional dishes like chicken nuggets, chips and finger sandwiches, and was keeping them well separate from the rest of the food. I asked what that was about, and she casually said, I'm just making sure that Jessica can have something to eat with her allergies. I said I didn't know she had allergies, and Mom said, yes, she says she's severely allergic to onion, garlic, and coriander. If you're familiar with Indian cuisine at all, you get why it would be an issue for someone with these allergies. Except, Jessica eats my soup. All the time. It has onions, and it's never caused her a reaction. The part where I may have been an a-hole is I said this to my mom, which, if you're familiar with Indian mothers, you may understand how that could have been a bad move. She didn't kick off or act aggressive, but she did confront Jessica about lying and ask if there was something wrong with her cooking. Jessica just got kind of red and stammer, and eventually admitted that she just doesn't like all that curry stuff, but thought saying she was allergic would be less awkward. Mom got pissed off because she'd taken such efforts to keep everything separate and whatever to avoid cross-contamination. Jessica got mad because Mom was mad, and my brother got mad at me for saying anything in the first place. Everything got rather awkward and Jessica ended up not even coming to the party. They now haven't spoken to me all week, except for my brother telling me I'm a gossipy a-hole, and that I shouldn't have said anything, which, yeah, I kind of get. Was I an a-hole? I didn't intend to cause drama. It was kinda just a surprise. Oh, that's weird. My soup with onions in doesn't make her ill. I feel bad for ruining her first impression with our family and embarrassing her. You didn't expose her maliciously. You were simply caught in her lie. Nothing would have happened if Jessica hadn't lied to start with. Faking allergies to force people to cater to your needs is very disrespectful. I understand that Jessica's mad at you because now, she won't get any respect from this side of the family and will always be seen as the liar. But it's all on her. She played a stupid game, she won a stupid prize. Faking allergies to force people to cater to your needs is very disrespectful. And it makes things so difficult for people who do have them. My best friend is allergic to garlic, hot peppers, strawberries, basil, rice, all sorts of weird stuff. When people fake allergies and get caught at it, it makes the lives of people like my friend more dangerous. Yep, I have major and weird food allergies. The number of times people have decided that because Joe Blow is faking, I must be too, have been insane. So do I. I'm allergic to nightshade. I had a waitress hide a small piece of tomato in my food once. It sent me into anaphylaxis in front of my small children. Jessica lied to your mom to avoid all that curry stuff. Brother blamed you for gossiping? You answered your mom's honest conversation about how she was trying to do the right kind of cooking for Jessica. Your mom sounds great. Poor woman to have Jessica for a possible future daughter-in-law. Yeah, mom's awesome. That's part of the reason this is so annoying. If Jessica just said, hey, I don't care for Indian food, mom would still have made her something else. She just wouldn't have had to go to the effort of preparing separate sanitized work surfaces and what have you. She could have just wiped things down as normal between prep. I'm glad you recognize how awesome your mom is. I would give my non-existent left nut for an in-law who would go that far to accommodate our food allergies. Next story. Why 53 female is not okay with me 55 male paying for part of my ex-wife's 55 female daughter's 27 female wedding. My ex-wife and I were high school sweethearts and married as soon as we graduated. We stayed together for 5 years and had a daughter. We'll call her Kara. The relationship wasn't working, so we split and my ex came out as a lesbian. My ex later had another daughter, Hannah, via donor, and I ended up becoming a father to Hannah. My ex didn't ask me to. We were on very friendly terms and already co-parenting Kara, so it came naturally. I met my now wife 3 years later and she was very understanding of the situation and took the role of stepmother to both kids. We also have a son. Hannah's getting married next year and my ex and her partner and I will all be paying for the wedding. We talked about this before, including my wife, and everyone was fine with it. But now my wife tells me she doesn't like the idea of me paying for the wedding of a child who isn't really mine. She thinks that the money should go towards our son's education instead. I already saved some money for our son that should cover him for a couple of semesters. He can always work part-time or apply for financial aid as well. Still, my wife is upset and thinks I've taken care of her enough, and it's time to basically exit her life. I'm shocked because she seemed to absolutely adore Hannah, but I guess she never really considered her family. She made it known that she wouldn't care if it was Kara because she's my actual blood daughter. But I consider Hannah my daughter, and my ex's partner has also been a parent to Kara, including financially despite no relation, so it isn't one-sided. Edit. I'm putting in $1,200, and so is my ex and her partner. The money is coming from my separate account. Any other expenses will be covered by Hannah and her fiancé. They aren't having anything extravagant, and I have way more saved for my son. If him or Kara gets married, I will put in for them too. Now for the comments. All of this over $1,200? I thought it was like $25,000 since she wanted you to use it for your son's education. Just give them money and move on. Using it for their son's education was really just a lame excuse. She just doesn't want her husband to pay anything because she isn't blood. Opie's wife sounds awful. Agreed. He sounds like a wonderful man being there for his kids, and a wife sounds bitter and hateful. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Hey Opie, it's $1,200 and your daughter's big day. I'd say pay for it out of your personal account. I'm so glad for the sanity check, because the comment section looked very different an hour ago, and I wondered if I was legit going crazy. He had an established relationship with Hannah before he met his wife. She knew he parented her and considered her his. She agreed to marry him knowing this. She co-parented Hannah. Here's the deal. Hannah is your daughter. Blood doesn't mean much. Being present and involved does. This was established before you were even married. Therefore, helping with her wedding is not only acceptable, but absolutely appropriate as you are her father. I adopted my daughter and have 2 boys of my own, and I love her as much as my boys. Well, probably more because daughters always hold a special place in a father's heart. I think you need to have a candid talk with your wife about this, and how important it is for you. Now for the last story. I feel like my female friends are hitting on my boyfriend, and I don't know how to address it. My boyfriend, 31 male, and I, 24 female, live together, and for the last 7 months have also worked in the same place of employment. We don't work closely, but other employees are aware we are dating because we arrive and leave together, and typically take lunch breaks together. For background information, I am very introverted. I find it incredibly difficult to make friends. I haven't had any friends for a few years now, especially with COVID. Recently, two girls with whom I frequently work with started chatting with me from time to time. I don't know their ages, but I think they're closer to my boyfriend's age than mine. They asked the other day if I wanted to hang out with them, and I was so excited. They suggested a movie night, and I offered to host but explained that my boyfriend would be home. They said this was fine and was at a time and date. They are currently still over, and we're watching a movie. I bought wine and made a few baked goods and also bought some chips. I just wanted to have a good time. When they arrived, they were friendly, but when my boyfriend came to watch the movie with us, they started to ignore me. The girl beside me sneezed and accidentally spilled her wine in my lap. She apologized, but it did feel intentional. I laughed it off and went to get changed. When I came back, both girls had moved to the same couch as my boyfriend. One was whispering something to him and the other was touching his arm, acting afraid. We were watching a scary movie. My boyfriend looked mildly uncomfortable and was sitting forward in his seat. When they saw me return, the girl stopped and kept watching the movie, but didn't move. I sat on the couch I was on initially, and my boyfriend moved to sit with me. Both girls followed and sat beside him. Nothing more really happened. The movie's almost over, but they've asked to sleep over. They've both had wine, and I don't want to force them to leave if they're intoxicated, but everything that happened made me so uncomfortable. I thought they just wanted to be my friends, but now I don't know. Am I being oversensitive? I don't even know anymore. No, you're not. That is super inappropriate. I would ask them to leave. It's 2021, they can call an Uber. I would talk to your boyfriend too. He clearly wasn't okay with it, but just to be on the same page. But in no way are you being sensitive. Honestly, I would have asked them to leave the second I saw that. Just the fact that they changed seats twice to be close to him, super prick move. I wonder if them suddenly wanting to hang out with Opie coincided with them seeing her boyfriend for the first time. I wouldn't be shocked. I actually had the same thought after reading a few comments saying Opie is basically crazy, that no one acts like this. I, for one, am not shocked women and men alike have no respect anymore, and a lot of young women take pride in getting a taken man. Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Any girl can get a single guy these days if they know what they're doing. A taken guy, however, is more of a challenge because they aren't just gonna throw themselves at you. My boyfriend looked mildly uncomfortable and was sitting forward in his seat. My boyfriend moved to sit with me. He is a proper fella. Good for him. I don't want to force them to leave. Time to put on your big girl pants. You didn't invite them to a sleepover. If you let them walk over you on this, they're just going to amp up their attempts at your boyfriend. You'd expect him to handle it where it's his friends behaving this way to you. Put your foot down. Then apologize to him, tell him you love him and you won't put him in that position again. Trust me, that's going to make him love and respect you even more. You're definitely not being oversensitive whatsoever. I would be 100% uncomfortable myself, and the fact that your boyfriend was uncomfortable too shows that this isn't just nothing. I would personally speak to them and say that what they did made both of you feel uncomfortable, and that type of behavior cannot continue if they want their friendship with you to continue also. If they get upset and blame you in any way, take that as a response and don't entertain them anymore. If they don't say anything, take that as a response also and don't entertain them. Hopefully they'll understand your boundaries, but if not, it's not the end of the world. I don't have many friends myself. It is important to remember that your self-worth doesn't reflect on how many friends you have. As long as you enjoy your own company, that's all that matters.